Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 best Age of Empires 2 players in the world, and this is going to be updated for 2023. As you guys all know, I made a video similar to this in November 3rd, 2022, so 1 year ago and 1 month ago, and that video had this list currently that we have on the screen somewhere. I hope my editor can put it up. So that was the list back then, starting off at number 1 with Viper, number 10 with MBL. But I went ahead and made an updated list because a lot has happened since 2022. 2023 was a crazy year for Age of Empires 2, and I feel like it's definitely worth making an updated video. And you know what? I might make an updated video of this every single year because we can analyze what happened and where players stand. I'm going to be basing my list mainly on the 7 major tournaments that we've had in 2023 and the end of 2022. These 7 tournaments are Warlords 2, TTL 3, KOTD 5, NEC4, TTL2, Grand Melee, and Warlords. These are the 7 major S tier tournaments we've had. These are the classics of Age of Empires 2, and these are the only tournaments worth considering when it comes to Age of Empires 2 and the best players in the world, because these tournaments are the highest prize pools, the highest stakes. They also have a wide range of settings. So like, we have LAN events, we have online events, we have 3-vil start, 9-vil start, we have 1-map tournaments like KOTD, we have mixed map tournaments. So whoever's making this list has to be performing well on all kinds of settings, and that's exactly what we're here to discuss. That is going to be my pretty much only criteria for this video, and the secondary criteria, or the tiebreaker, is just going to be a general feeling, so a small bit of my opinion and how they used to perform in tournaments of the past and maybe what their ceiling can bring. So with all that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the top 10 best Age of Empires 2 players in 2023. Starting off at number 10, we've got an absolute legend, a household name, a classic name. We've seen him competing in the last 20 years, and he's been, pretty much a top player, a top 10 player at the very least in all of those 20 years. And we've got Doubt. Now, I gave him number 9 in my last list. This time at number 10, it's no big deal, just drops him by 1, but I think overall he's still performing at a very similar level and a very high level at that. I feel like Doubt's the kind of guy that always makes it to the top 8 of tournaments, and if he doesn't get top 8, he loses almost always in the round right before it. Putting himself in between round of 16 and round of 8 solidifies himself at a number 10 position. He is extremely good at prepared strategies and bringing a different style to the table, and he usually shies away from playing the micro heavy games and relies more on the strategic and positional advantages to win the games. Definitely a very solid and pretty well-rounded player, putting himself at number 10. I will say, I know he doesn't take himself too seriously as a player. He likes to make a lot of jokes and kind of laugh off a lot of things, but we should definitely take him very serious as a competitor because he's an absolutely dangerous player, and I think he's one guy that is just always potentially getting to the high spots of tournaments and always someone to look out for. He can beat pretty much anyone on the list given the right circumstances, and he has taken a lot of sets from pretty much everyone on this list. Moving on to number 9, we've got a player that actually dropped a few slots since the last list. It's not to say that he's on a decline, it's just that 2022 was his best year, and 2023 has been a decent year for him, but just didn't live off to the same expectations. And number 9, we've got Winchester. It's once again, no disrespect, we dropped him a couple slots, but number 9 is still a super solid finish. He's had a lot of good tournament results, but lately it's kind of been a trend where he's either in the top 8 or losing the round before. And I feel like, in 2022, he won TTL. He actually won an S tier tournament, and he got very deep in a lot of the other ones. KOTD 4, he finished in 2nd place, and so he definitely shows that he's got that ceiling, got that potential. But 2023, he just simply hasn't lived up to that. But still, very decent, has some deep tournament runs, and has a lot of top 8 finishes. So definitely secured himself a spot at number 9. Number 8, we've got a player that I think even if you ask himself if he considers himself a top 8 player, he might say he doesn't. He might say he doesn't, but the good thing is the stats don't lie, and Jordan secures himself a number 8 spot on the list. Super solid, super consistent player. He pretty much gets top 8 every single tournament. If not, he loses the round before, but he does have a couple semi-final finishes as well, so that kind of makes up for the quote-unquote bad results that he could have. But usually he's consistently in the top 8. Even the last tournament, Warlords 2, he made it to the top 8 and was 1 game away from beating Yo and getting to the semi-finals. Jordan is an absolute beast of a player, and despite him getting a full-time job in real life, working at Mercedes now, let's go. Despite that, he's still a top tier player, and he still managed to get a top 8 result in the last tournament. He also won the 2v2 tournament cartographers with Viper, and although we're not considering that, it just shows that he is here and he's here to compete despite not being full-time Age of Empires 2. He is still a dangerous player, and definitely secured a number 8 spot on the list. It is worth mentioning that he got number 8 on my last list, just showing how consistent Jordan truly is. In 1 year, despite lowering the time that he's investing into the game, he still managed to keep the same results. Big respect to him, and let's move on to the next one. Number 7, we've got a player that I feel like has the potential to be even higher. He just, I feel like, underperformed in a couple important matches and just didn't quite live up to that semifinals results, consistent semifinal result to push him higher up in the list. But he's still a guy that we expect to see in the quarterfinals at least. And this guy is ACCM. He's had an amazing 2023, definitely stepped it up from his last year, and I feel like he's on an upward trend. He could be a guy to break into the top 5 if he just was a bit more consistent, if he just performed in those match points in those important games and pushed himself a little bit further up into those tournament rankings. ACCM still very solid at number 7. Like I said, you can always expect him to be hitting top 8s in tournaments. He's had a couple semifinal results that are noteworthy, and in my opinion, he is a very well-rounded player. He plays all maps, he plays all styles, and he shines with the aggression. Pretty much a beast in every single aspect of Age of Empires 2, and yeah, just an absolute solid player overall. Definitely deserving of the number 7 slot. Moving on to number 6, we've got the number 1 Finnish player. It's no surprise, it is Velez. Velez was number 7 on my last list, this time being bumped up to number 6. I feel like he's had a very solid early part of 2023, and I feel like he's kept it pretty consistent as well, always getting into the top 8s of tournaments, and if not losing the round before, does have a couple semifinal results. And you know, he was very similar, very close to ACCM. I personally just chose Velez to be slightly higher, just because I feel like Velez has that higher ceiling and has proven. He got 2nd place in TTL Season 1, and he has proven to be going deeper in certain tournaments where the stakes are at their highest. Super solid result for number 6 here with Velez, and I hope to see him going further up as well as the years go by. Let's see if he can break into that top 5. Before I show you guys the top 5, I'm going to go ahead and run through some honorable mentions here, some names that were so close to making it to the list but didn't quite make it there. I've got 2 that were really close. We've got Nikov, number 1. I feel like Nikov is right up there with number 6 to 10, very easily going head to head with these names in tournaments, but I just feel like his tournament results haven't quite reflected that. He's always losing one round earlier. He had a couple breakthroughs here and there. Obviously in NEC4, he did make top 8 for sure. Super solid, but he's just not as consistent as some of the other names on the list, and I feel like he's like literally number 11. And the other one is Dugao. You can maybe say him number 12. I feel like he's very well respected, very well rounded, very solid player, has some decent results here and there, breaks into the top 8 every now and then, but just not consistent enough compared to the other guys. Some other names I thought I'd mention, but in my opinion, they're not really that close to the top 10. MBL, he can be like a top 10 player in the right settings, like on Arabia only, like in KOTD, he got 4th place, so semi-final finish. But on the other settings, I feel like he just falls very short, and he's not even, you know, in top 8 results consistently. He barely has top 8 results. So again, I actually wish him the best. He's going full-time recently, and I hope he can make a change in those mixed map tournaments. But until that happens, I just simply can't justify putting him in the top 10. He's a friend and a teammate though, so I'm wishing him the best. Next up, we got Barrels and Sato. Both of these are very similar. They've got top 8 results. They're actually quite consistently getting to top 16, but not consistently enough breaking that top 10. But with a couple more tournaments, they can easily make a breakthrough. And the last one on my list is Hearts, who's recently bumped up to top 16 very consistently, but it just hasn't made any plays to get into the top 8 just yet. Definitely has the potential though. All right, moving into the top 5. This is what the people want to see. I honestly have a very based top 5 list, just letting you know in advance, but I based it mostly on the facts of the tournament and the tournament results, and less about personal opinion and personal preference. So starting off at number 5, this might surprise people, but I've got Mr. Yo. This is a guy that I would have swore is top 4 for the longest time, and I feel like you can still consider him top 4 easily. But remember, these 5 names are the names we expect to see in the semifinals of every tournament, at least, sometimes even winning it. But there's only 4 spots in the semifinals, and I've got 5 names on my list that usually make it there. So every single tournament, one of these names will be knocked out, and I feel like with Mr. Yo, it just happens to be him getting knocked out or him not getting any wins in the last year. I think that's really hurt him. Granted, he hasn't played in the Grand Melee, which definitely, was taken into consideration, but the other 6 tournaments, Warlords, TTL2, and NEC5, NEC4, KOTD5, TTL3, Warlords 2, all of those tournaments, unfortunately, he didn't win any of them. And he didn't get any first place results. He did get a couple second places or third places, and he got a lot of semifinals, but he also got outside the top 8 in a couple. And I feel like out of all the names I had here, he was the guy that just had to take the number 5 position. Still, no disrespect, number 5 on the list is incredibly good achievement, and although he did drop a couple spots from last year, it doesn't really take anything away from him, and he's easily right back up there with another good couple results. Moving on to number 4 now, we've got, again, another razor thin margin between number 4 and number 3. I honestly just couldn't decide who to put where, but ultimately I had to make a choice, and I put Leary at number 4. This might be surprising to a lot of people because he was number 2 on my last list, and I think, you know, he's one of those guys we consider to be top 3. And a lot of, like, again, if you consider him top 3, I can easily make the argument, maybe even in the right time, I would consider him top 3, maybe even top 2. If he's in shape, if he's 100% in there, he definitely has a very high ceiling, and he started off the year incredibly strong. He got second place in Grand Melee and NEC4, and he got a lot of top 4 results. But I think there was one result that really stained his year. KOTD5 getting knocked out in round of 16. And I feel like that really hurt a lot of the consistency that he was striving for. And although he did do a decent bounce back, he got a round of 8 in TTL3 and Worlds 2, only losing out to me, and I ended up winning both those tournaments. He had a decent bounce back. It's still just not the best results overall for him in the later stages of 2023. So started off very strong, but kind of went a little bit lower as the year went on. Still super solid player, easily can win the next tournament when it comes around. He's 100% one of the favorites, and he's always a guy to look out for. Leary at number 4. Next up, we've got number 3. Pretty obvious at this point, but it's a player that has really bumped it up from the last year, and I really want to congratulate him for a lot of his work that he's put in and a lot of the results and achievements he's gotten. It's Mr. Tato. Very solid end of the year for him. Really solid year in general. I feel like he's been getting top 4 super consistently in pretty much all of these events, and if he's not top 4, he's losing in the round before or getting to the finals. So he's literally number 4, if not 6, if not 2, and it's, you know, he's really consistent in that range. And I feel like he's the kind of guy that's really proven himself over the last year. I used to have Yo above him, and I think this year he's, you know, made a name for himself in the top 3, and he got second place in Warlords 2. He got very solid 4th places in a lot of the other tournaments, and he's a guy that could easily win another tournament in the next 1 or 2 years. He's very solid, very strategic, and you know, definitely a name to look out for. Moving on to number 2, we've got pretty much the greatest Age of Empires 2 player of all time. A player that's proven himself in, you know, multiple different tournaments for multiple years upon years of Age of Empires 2 gaming. We have the Viper. He had a really good year in 2023, and I feel like a lot of the comments of people saying he's washed up are just completely incorrect. If you go back and you take a look at a lot of his results, they're completely fine. The narrative around Viper has always been, in my opinion, a little bit unfavoring towards him. I feel like people have a lot of high expectations, and when those aren't met in the slightest, it's a bit of a big deal. And, you know, that just shows to how dominant he was for, you know, many years in the past. But I think his 2023 is maybe even one of his best years yet. Let's go through his results to see what he's been doing. So he got 1st place in Warlords 1, he got 3rd place in Grand Melee, he got 1st place in TTL2, 4th or semifinals in NEC4, 2nd place in KOTD5, 2nd place in TTL3, and top 4 in Warlords 2. So as you can see, not a single tournament with Viper out of the top 4 in the last 13 months. That is an insane achievement. Most of the time, he's either getting 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, and I think he's just the kind of guy that you expect to win every tournament. And the next time it rolls around, Viper's either the favorite or the 2nd favorite in line. It's simply how it is for him, and I think he's definitely proven to still be a consistent threat to winning every single tournament, and has had a great year, and he's going to be the 2nd place on the list. Moving on to number 1, it's a little bit awkward to put myself on the list, but remember, I'm just basing it off the tournament results, and I'm going to keep it as objective as possible. So moving on to number 1, we've got Hera, myself, in there. I'm actually very happy about it, but let's just take a look at the tournament results here. In the last 7, we've had, I won Warlords 2, TTL3, KOTD5, and NEC4, so a 4 S-tier win streak, which is actually very insane. I'm very happy about it. And then in TTL2, I got 2nd place. Grand Melee, I also won, so that's number 5. And then Warlords, I got 2nd place. So I got in the finals of the last 7 tournaments, and I won 5 of them. So I feel like it's pretty safe to say that right now I am number 1, but it's a very small margin, and the next tournament rolls around, it's between me and the next 10 guys. Pretty much anyone can take the win, and I wouldn't be surprised if I lose the next tournament. Obviously, I'm going to be going for it 100%, putting it my all into it, but the margins are razor thin. Anything can happen, and the competition is at its highest. So with NEC5 rolling around the corner, you bet your ass that these top 10 players will be trying their absolute best to get in there and to win this tournament, and I'm going to be one of them competing, and I hope to see all you guys supporting me. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Let me know in the comments if you agreed or disagreed with some of my choices. Remember, it's based mainly on the tournament results, but some of my opinion may have seeped through. So if you guys have any agreements or any discussion you want to add to it, definitely let me know in the comments, and let me know if you want to see this video every year. I'll be as objective as possible. Like I said, I have no problem putting anyone anywhere, but at the end of the day, it's all just talk and speculation and really just analyzing the data of the big tournaments, and I think that's really interesting to do. So thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.